Hey, what's going on, all my gamers, all my Genshin gamers? So, I saw this video. It's called The Genshin 4-Star Problem is Getting Ridiculous. Now, I have my own thoughts about the 4 stars in Genshin and other Hoyoverse games, but I'll leave that maybe for another video where I go through everything else. I kind of want to know what this is about, though. I haven't watched any of it. You and me are going to watch it at the same time. We're going to react to it, and then I'll give my opinions, and depending on what they say. So, let's watch.
As much as I love Genshin, Hoyo needs to do something about 4 stars.
Right.
Many people think of 4-star characters as free-to-play friendly, and for a long time, it was common to assume everyone would have several important ones at high constellation. But over time, it's become more and more obvious that they're anything but. The way it's all set up is horrible for all types of players. People who just started have an uphill battle to get those key staples who are essential to so many teams. Long-term players with a limited budget struggle to get specific 4 stars they
I think a lot of the 4 stars that are pretty good are given to you for free, are they not? Am I trolling? I know Sucrose is given for free. Calais should be given for free. Kachina is now given for free. I don't know how good Kachina, I shouldn't say that one. I don't know. I wouldn't say that she's essential. She's essential to Natlan. Like, she absolutely is 100,000% needed when you need to traverse Natlan, because anything else would be super troll. I honestly think that Natlan needs her. So Sucrose, absolutely needed. Calais is pretty good for what you would need in terms of like meta, which, you know, meta's just Dendro. So I think you're kind of given the most important characters, right? Barbara's a good support. Yeah, especially for early game, you might as well just pick her up. I think you get her, and I think you get a Xiangling, which is probably one of the best units in the game. So I think in terms of like getting them base, getting them at base, you're just getting them at base. I think it's you probably get like the best characters from unlocking them.
really want, and even whales can have a tough time if they want to get to higher cons. Clearly, Hoyo must think the current setup is a net positive for them. I'm pretty sure they're wrong. This has been one of my main complaints about Genshin for years, and once again it's reared its head with the release of
Let me break it down for you,
Mark. The character I was most excited for in 5.0 was Kachina. I'm a sucker for the little cute chippy babies. And since she's a 4-star, I had a bad feeling that it wasn't going to go well for me. Unfortunately, my worries were well founded. We got 1 copy of her for free, but I was really hoping to get constellations, of course. I spent over 100 wishes on Morlani's banner, and the star turned gold twice before Kachina showed up. I started off close to soft pity and lost to Jean, and eventually got Morlani 82 wishes after that.
Wait. I think I was the same. I don't remember who I lost to. I lost to Diluc, pretty much probably one of the worst characters in the game. So, or at least the worst 5-star. Dehya is probably worse. I lost to Diluc, but I also got pity early. I lost to Diluc and I ended up getting Morlani like I'd say a week ago ish. And I just got her to level 90 last night. But yeah, I actually have been getting pretty lucky when it comes to constellations for Kachina. Now, I personally wouldn't use Kachina just because I have other Geo characters that I think would be better. And I don't really ever try to benefit off of defense, which is kind of what she does. She kind of like gives your team a lot of defense. Now, I use a character that I think that scales off of defense that I think is probably the best character in the game, which is Yunjin, by the way. I don't know why I always forget Yunjin. I think she's the best defense support character in the game, and she gives defense and stuff like that.
Still had no twirly worries.
But that's also why I don't use like Goro. Like Goro is kind of useless unless you're fighting the giant Geo Doge. Other than that, I've never used them. Well, I mean, I've kind of used them because a lot of people say that Goro is kind of the cock holder for Ito, but other than that, I've never used them.
Frustrated, I did an extra temple after the 2nd goal and finally got a Kachina. I had both of the other 4 stars at C6 already, so to only get C1 was incredibly frustrating and made that first day in Natlan kick off on a really sour note. This is not the first time this has happened to me. What's going on here? How does it affect different types of players? Why are Hoyo doing this to us, and how could they make it better for everyone? One thing that people sometimes struggle to really get is that 4 stars are harder to get than 5 stars. Most importantly, there's no guarantee that you'll ever get the one that you want. You could spend 100,000 wishes on one banner and never get that lucky
That's true.
Yes, that's statistically on.
I think I have C21 Goro just to bring home the point that you might not always get the character that you need. And I think I was going for someone who I actually really wanted, and I got a bunch of Goros.
Unlikely, but it's not impossible. But even if you have average luck, the odds aren't as simple as they seem at first glance. You'll often see people looking at the 4-star wishing rules and saying that there's a 1 in 6 chance of getting a specific 4-star. After all, there's a 50% chance of getting a featured 4-star and an equal chance of each of the 3 if you do win that 50-50. Half of a third is a sixth. Simples, right? It's actually more complicated than that. If you lose that 50-50, you're guaranteed to get a rated character in the next temple, which changes the odds completely. This guarantee increases the chances of getting your desired 4-star, but the layers of conditions and odds adjusting based on previous outcomes makes it surprisingly difficult to apply maths to get a clear sense of the overall probability. Instead, people have generally found the best way to understand it is to run wishing simulations. The simulations reach conclusions which match my intuition. You have a roughly 50% chance of getting your desired 4-star in 30 pulls, around 80% chance in the first 50 pulls, 90% chance by the time you reach soft pity for your 5-star. Roughly speaking then, you'll get 1 or 2 copies of each 4-star per 5-star. That's a lot more wishes to get to that point than many think. And of course, there's no guarantee. For collectors and whales, this is usually just an annoyance. They'll often want to get a new 4-star to C6 to complete their collection, so it's just a question of how much they'll have to spend to get there. But
I guess that's kind of why I don't see it as a problem for the 4-stars, is that I don't really care about 4-stars. At this point, 4-stars are just kind of there to be in the way of me to get my 5-stars. I can't imagine... I more importantly try to focus on the 5-star of the banner. Now, if you are a collector, which she has said, yeah, this is gonna be annoying. Me personally, I get 1 copy. That if I got 1 copy, I'll see how they are. I'll read their stats, and then be like, all right, this probably sucks. Never mind, I'm not gonna use it. I might as well just keep using my 5-stars because all my teams, they all have 5-stars. They like none of them have any 3-star or 4-star characters except for like. There's very specific ones, so I'll use Hatsune Miku, aka Farazan, for the Wanderer, because she kind of is just a specific Dendro, or not Dendro, I almost said Arrow, Animo buff, so that's kind of what he needs, so she's kind of like his best support. And then I'll use Cookie, because Cookie's like the best support, or Cookie's a really good healer, and then, Benny Boy's, busted.
Dolphins, it means that those higher cons can be unattainable, and it can be devastating to drop all your savings on a banner in the hopes of getting what you want and end up with nothing to show for it. And for free-to-play players, it makes it so much harder to plan ahead, and many people end up with an awkward and lopsided roster of characters just due to bad luck. This feels even worse when you end up getting lots of copies of the wrong 4-star. Back in version 2.8, 2 of my favorite 5-stars were due to be available at the same time, Kazuha and Klee. I had neither and saved up tons of wishes so that I could...
It's been a while since Klee's been out here. Let's see who was on here. Toma was a big disappointment for me. I absolutely would have loved to have played the house husband. That character ended up sucking. I wouldn't use Toma to... you know what? Keep him in the kitchen. Keep this boy in the kitchen. Don't let him out, bro. This guy sucks. Heizo is pretty cool. I like his concept, but his damage isn't where it could be. I think he's cool. I built him. He's pretty fun. At this point, you might as well just use Ridesley if you have him. But yeah, punching characters are always my favorite.
Get them both, and even plan to build one of
Klee hasn't been a banner so long.
Those banners also saw the debut of a new 4-star, Heizo. I had C6 for both.
Oh wait, I think I had trouble getting Heizo too. Now that I think about it, I did. Yeah. I actually had a problem getting Heizo
and Toma, but I had hundreds of wishes to spend, so surely I'd get to pretty high constellations for Heizo, right?
I have such a bad problem with wishing. I honestly can't imagine having hundreds of wishes. It's really bad. I wish like every day. I'm sorry. So bad at that.
300 wishes on those banners. I got 2 copies of Heizo.
Nice.
And I got 17
Big 2, baby.
Ningguangs. She's currently ridiculous like C43, and I hate it. This is one of those quirks of statistics which really grates against basic human psychology. It feels personal. It made me hate Ningguang for a long while. When this happens to you, it feels incredibly unfair, and it's hard to describe just how demoralizing it is.
This character's trash.
Times, it's even worse. I've known people to give up playing Genshin entirely after this happened to them too often. It's one of the few things which has pushed me in that direction myself, and it's made me...
Okay, again, I get it. I do. I just feel like quitting for 4-stars kind of weird just because they're 4-stars. You're not really going to use them. You're not going to really use Hato. I'm going to be completely honest. Hato's not that great. But, I mean, hey, you need your favorite character. If I didn't get Dehya, I would have been happier. But I also need Dehya. I need Dehya. I need Candace. Who else? Chiori. Like, all these characters, bro. I need all these. Like, I understand. Like, I understand it. Dehya. I needed both of the muscle mommies, you know? I needed Dehya and I needed Candace, and I got them both, and I made them both DPS, and boy, that was a mistake.
Me consider stopping spending, even the little that I currently do. In my opinion, Hoyo is playing with fire by keeping the system as is. Another nuance to this which piles on the frustration is when you really want a specific 4-star character, but you do not want the 5-star who's
twirly whirly car.
In the early days of Genshin, this wasn't too big a problem. During version 1, on average, each 4-star character reran once every 2 patches. If you had to skip one, you would not have to wait too long before you had another chance to get them. Over time,
let's see how many characters you would actually want. Actually, there's a fair amount of these you would want to use. I think the only 4-stars you wouldn't want to use is Chongyun and Ningguang. Razor you can make work. These are the best supports. 4-star supports. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Beto's kind of iffy. If you need her, then yeah, she's gonna be good for what she does with the shield. But I just wish she was better. You know, I just kind of wish the numbers were a little bit better. But hey, she's good.
The number of 4-stars steadily increased, slowly lengthening the time it takes for a character to rerun. In version 4, on average, each character had only 1.5 banners across the entire version. The wait between banners is now over twice as long. That number doesn't even change all that much if you exclude the characters who released in the latter half of version 4. And it's even worse than that sounds. Certain characters, such as Bennett and Xiangling, tend to run much more often than others, further diluting the chances of the others getting a rerun. For most people, this means you have two choices: risk getting a 5-star you don't want, or skipping the 4-star you do want. At different times, I've done both. For example, Faruzan released in version 3.3 on banners featuring Wanderer and Ito. I really wanted...
I don't remember if I have her C6, chat. I would have to look that up later.
Faruzan to help boost my Zhao, but I couldn't afford to waste my primos on a Wanderer I didn't want or an Ito I just didn't need. I skipped the banner entirely.
That's kind of ironic. It's the other way around for me. I would never pull for Xiao, and I actually pulled for Wanderer.
And for the best part of a year, I made do with a C0 Faruzan from the Academia event before I eventually got her cons from Shen Yun's banner. On the other hand, I really wanted Carver when he released in version 3.6. I had enough saved up to go for it, but I already had Ganyu and I did not want Baizu at all. I pulled on Baizu's side anyway in the hope that I'd get lucky, and I did get lucky. But not in the way I wanted. I spent 100 pulls, and in that time, I got more than one copy of Baizu before finally getting a single Carver. Fortunately, Baizu turned out to be an absolute gem of a character, but I was a bit upset at the time for having spent
I was gonna say as a character. I thought they were gonna say like as a healer, like in the meta. I was gonna say I don't think anyone actually uses them.
Wishes on a 4-star. For fully free-to-play players especially, this can be an absolute nightmare, since you really are damned if you do, damned if you don't, unless you just happen to get really lucky.
Right.
And to make that even worse, it's pretty obvious that Hoyo adjusts the rerun rates for characters so that the ones which people are likely to want the most are the least common, as a nudge to get people to pull more, especially on banners where the 5-stars are less enticing. One part of this is those early characters like Xiangling and Bennett who seem to be on every other banner, but for those, at least there's a good excuse. They are incredibly powerful.
Yeah, they're the most broken sports in the game.
So for the sake of newer players, it's a good thing that they're not completely forgotten. They are available in Paimon's bargains though, so that point is a little questionable in my opinion.
Bargains.
And it's annoying for those of us who've got them C6 many times.
Oh, I think I know what that is.
But on the other side of it, certain 4-stars who are powerful in their own right tend to run less often. Faruzan is a good example of this, but
well, okay. We gotta listen, chat. We gotta say it how it is. We can't beat around the bush here. Faruzan outside of Wanderer is not great. You're never gonna use her outside of the Wanderer. I guess okay, outside of like animal characters, I should say. She's one of those niche characters. There's a few niche supports, like Chevrolet. Actually, Chevrolet is one of the niche supports. He's a pyro electric support. So it's like these are very niche characters. You're not. I feel like they're not going to give you these characters because you're not going to really need them. Now, they're nice when you have them, but it's like when you don't have them, nothing really changes.
The one that really bugs me right now is Saurus. So far, she's been on only one banner in version 4.3.
Has she really? Wow, okay, then I got lucky that I got her. I don't think she's good. I use her, don't get me wrong. I use her. I don't think she's good, but I just love her animations and her long ass hair. And, you know, I like characters with eye patches. I don't know why. They're usually pretty cute. And, you know, her idle animation where she pulls out food, that's always great.
I had both of those 5 stars already, so I did a couple of risky temples on the banner and managed to get a single copy of
Look, she has an eye patch.
So much of her strength is locked behind her C6, so I'm one of the many who really hoped she would rerun soon. Instead, we're now in 5.0 with her nowhere to be seen.
Oh.
I suspect she'll be on the upcoming banner with Raiden and Kinich in the second half of this patch.
I don't actually. I would have to look up if that's true.
Again. I don't really want Kinich, and I definitely don't want more Raiden cons. This also happened with Kaveh, and it's wild.
Don't you fucking lie to me and tell me you don't want more constellations for the Shogun. Well, I don't know if she C6'd her. You absolutely want more constellations for the Shogun. Don't lie to me. We all do. We all want a C6 Shogun. That shit's busted.
To look at the banners.
I do want Kinich, but it's just like, fuck, I know. I'll pull for Kinich, but I know I really want Malvika. So if I don't get Kinich, whoops. And then I have guarantee on the weapon, I think, as well. So I'm going to try to get Malvika and her weapon.
And see that after his debut, 6 4-stars reran 3 times each before he came back around. His kit itself was a disappointment, but his absence from the banners was just bizarre. And it's worth mentioning that this behavior of holding back the most valuable...
Yeah, dude, he sucks. Why? I know people who do like Kaveh. I have a friend who she really loves Kaveh. Probably the only person I've ever... Oh, I think my sister probably likes Kaveh. I don't know. Other than that, I've never heard anyone unironically say, I want Kaveh. Outside of, like, people who think he's hot. Like, which I respect. Do not get me wrong. I absolutely respect. If you guys love Kaveh and you think it's because he's hot, I'm right there with you. I love, I say it every time because it is a disappointment to me personally. I love Dehya as a character, and I love Dehya because she's hot. So I feel you there. You and me, hey, we're right here. Me and you are right here with it. Don't worry about it.
4 stars is significantly worse on the weapon banner. For example, C4's Moonlight is fantastic but incredibly rare. Not only is it supremely difficult to get a single copy of it for all the reasons we discussed so far, but it's yet another which Hoya rarely puts on the banners. Instead, the weapon banners get an endless rotation of the basic weapons which have been available since the start of the game.
I've never actually heard of this weapon.
Even less worthwhile. If they had some good stuff,
I just don't pull on weapon banners,
would be much more inclined to drop some primos every now and then. So, in summary, through mediocre odds and a lack of guarantee, exacerbated by Hoyo's insistence of running the same 4 stars over and over again, players regularly have a horrible time when they want to pull for someone specific. Outside of the featured character banners, there are a couple of other ways to get characters, but none of them does enough to combat this problem. The most valuable is Paimon's Bargains, where you can spend star glitter to buy a copy of one of the 12 characters available in a...
God damn. Do you not use any of this shit? I honestly, I never have more than like 1,000 just because I use a lot of it. I actually run out of materials a lot and I'm like, I might as well just use this. So I don't have a lot of this. And then I never use these because I use these immediately to get a wish.
6-month rotation. However, the available lineup here has remained unchanged since day one. It remains a great way for new players to get some of those essential 4 stars, but it becomes completely useless for everyone eventually. 4 stars are also available on the standard banner, but the odds there are very low and decrease over time as they add more. Roughly half of the 4 stars you get on that banner will be characters, and the odds for which character you get are equal across all of the available ones. Coupled with the paltry number of standard wishes we get, this makes zero difference to people who want a specific character. And finally, there are free characters available either permanently or from one-time limited events. These are a nice bonus and are always appreciated, especially the permanent ones. Their value does depend a lot on how viable the character is at C0 though. So why is it set up this way, and why do I think it misses the mark? Since capitalism is how the world works, Hoyo's intent is, of course, to optimize their revenue. They'll have entire teams of people whose job is to analyze player behavior and apply game theory in order to extract as much money from people as they possibly can.
I don't know how much they actually do spend thinking about the 4 stars, to be completely honest, just because I feel like everyone wants the 5 stars. Now, I'm not saying that they don't care. People absolutely care. You're gonna need some of these 4 stars eventually, but it's just like, I don't know how much they actually. I wonder if they like just put them randomly together, like put these characters. They have 4 stars. They just like throw a random bunch in there, like, all right, they just put them in there. Fuck it.
4 stars are clearly an important lever for this. They can use them to increase or decrease how enticing a banner is, making up for underwhelming characters. They avoid revealing which ones will be available until very close to the banner, triggering speculation, conversations, anticipation, and FOMO. They keep rerun frequencies inconsistent and make sure to hold back some popular characters for far longer than others to build up a scarcity mindset and ensure people rush to get the ones they want, since who knows when they'll next be available. But I think they've optimized all of this for a different audience to the one they ended up creating. Genshin's success was unprecedented, and the game has a far wider player base than anyone expected. The average Genshin player is likely to be far more casual than for many other similar games, and less forgiving of how gacha systems generally work. And yet, the banner system
all the
was
sweats are on
designed
Honkai
before
Star
they
Rail.
had any inkling that the audience might be unusual in that sense. For a lot of the player base who were sucked into Genshin despite having never had any interest in gachas before, the setup for 4-star characters is a rough edge which turns them away. It makes people less motivated to spend and more inclined to just all out quit. I'm pretty sure many would spend more if this was more forgiving. And there are lots of ways they could fix this. They don't even need to change things completely. Just a small tweak or two would make a world of difference, especially when you consider how much goodwill any improvements would bring. One approach I've never seen discussed is to reduce the odds of getting characters after their C6. Currently, when the gacha system decides you're getting a character, each character has equal odds out of all the ones available. Imagine if, instead, the odds of getting any specific character would decrease if they're C6. Even better if they further decrease every time you get them.
Boy, I sure wish they would stop giving me Goro. Man, that stupid fucking dog. Every single time I go into a banner, I get Goro. Please, I don't like him. I have him C6. I've had him C6 since release. Please, I don't need him anymore. Can you please stop giving him to me? I mean, I think that's a great idea. I honestly don't know why. It would actually help me finish my characters as well. I think Cookie isn't C6, believe it or not. And I don't know which other characters I have. I'll have to look it up. I know there's characters who aren't C6. It depends, too, if they would do it with, like, characters that you have C6 that you just haven't claimed yet. Because then I would get, like, an infinite amount of Bennies. Because I have the constellation to make Benny C6. I just don't redeem it. I don't want him to have that pyro thing. That sounds kind of weird. Like, if you could turn it off, I would redeem it, but since you can't, I just don't have it on.
After that point, since then at least there'd be a better consolation prize than a measly single pull. While this might sound too good to be true, Hoyo could tune the strength of the adjustment to ensure that it wouldn't hurt their bottom line. Even a small change here would make it feel so much better. The more popular solution, and one
a small change to make the game feel better. That's not the Genshin Impact I know.
Which would work brilliantly.
There's still stamina in the game, by the way.
Combination with the odds adjustment idea.
Or there's still stamina out of combat, in case you were wondering.
This would be straight copy of the system designed for the weapon banner.
Pull, do a temple, do a temple, do a temple.
Of the 4 stars you want
do a temple,
to aim
do
for.
it.
Every time you get a different 4-star, you get a fate point.
Do it.
Until eventually you get enough points to guarantee that you'll get the one you want. This idea really does feel like something Hoyo might consider, and it would negate the biggest of the problems with the current system, since you'd finally be able to guarantee you'll get a character. One reason I don't hate Genshin's gacha system is that you know the worst case cost to get a 5-star, and the gambling aspect is limited to whether you'll get them earlier than that. A 4-star fate system would finally make that possible for 4 stars. Neither of those touch on some of the other issues though, such as rerun frequency and the heavy reliance on FOMO in how the banners work. To combat those, at the very least, I'd want Hoyo to finally expand the Paimon's Bargains shop. Adding new characters to this would make Stargazer more valuable and mitigate the risks when wishing for a 4-star. In an
That would make
ideal
sense, yeah.
world, they'd add them to the regular rotation, maybe a year after their initial debut, for example, though a more limited option would be to make each 4-star purchasable on their birthday. There are also more complicated ways to fix the rerun frequency, for example by adding 4-star specific banners or allowing us to select 3 characters out of a pool of 4 stars to customize the rate-up slots on the character banner, though I feel like these are much less likely to become a reality. The Chronicled Wish banner seemed like an attempt at addressing this, but it introduced just as many problems as it solved, and we've heard nothing of it since it first happened, so I wouldn't hold my breath.
Shit.
Nutland came with a ton of...
I know a lot of people didn't like that whatever banner that was called. I actually really liked it. I didn't get what I wanted out of it, now mind you, but I mean, I like the idea of it, and mostly just because the idea of it is that I can get my Eula weapon finally.
Different things which
but
people
that's just
would
a me
never
thing.
have expected to see in Genshin. People were ecstatic, and many who had dropped the game in the past have actually come back once more.
Woo! We get a 5-star collector of 5 of the worst fucking characters in the game. Let's go! What the fuck am I gonna do with these characters? They're all fucking garbage, brother. They're trash. They suck. Pick Tainari, by the way. If you still have this and you haven't picked it, pick Tainari. He's gonna outlast all the rest of them by far, and then like maybe Mona.
More. The 4-star problem is still a sore point for many, and these kinds of tweaks would reduce the frustration and encourage people to play long term. Reduced churn is highly valuable, especially in the crowded gacha market of today, and player happiness would doubtless increase. And many people, myself included, who would never ever spend to get a 4-star with the current setup might actually consider it if there was some kind of a guarantee. There are many ways Hoyo could fix this, and if they did, people would be even more excited. And I'm pretty sure Genshin's income would go up, not down. I guess we'll just have to hope they're considering it. Until next time.
I think this is a great video. I think it had pretty good discussions. I was memeing a lot of it, but I think it was pretty interesting. Now, it's really hard for me to try to justify a pure 4-star not justify it, but it's hard for me to see it just because, you know, they really want to just make money off of a 5-star. So I feel like they just put whatever on the banner. I would like to see them put like a 4-star banner for characters you would need. So you'd put like what? Benny on it. Benny, Sucrose, Calais, I guess, just because she's the Dendro character. I'm trying to think of all the other ones. Cookie would be another one. Cookie's insane. So she would be good. I would have to look at the roster again, and then I'll tell you who I would think would have to be on that thing. And I really like the idea of I love this so much. Please decrease the amount of 4-stars we get once we get C6, because I don't want Goro anymore. I don't think anyone wants Goro in general. Please stop giving them to me. But that's just what I think. I think this is a great video. It was really well put together. She really put her research into it. Anyways, comment, like, and subscribe, channel. Now we'll catch you gamers in the next one. Bye.